Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Dark Radio Network Project. I'm part of America Disclosing, as everybody knows, uncensored. I try to do a lot of different platforms. It's a privilege tonight to have a friend, a person that has done nothing but supported me since the day I walked through the door on Facebook. Bob Horn Hartman. What do you like to go by? Bob Horn?
Barb.
Hartman?
Just
Okay.
Barb. Yeah, Barb Hartman. That's my Horn is my middle name, so I don't, that's not my legal name anymore, but so that was just a way to distinguish myself from all the other Barb Hartmans on Facebook.
Okay.
So
yeah. Well, I thought tonight, like you said, Mike, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
First off, you've made a career for yourself here on Facebook, YouTube, and different places out there in the world, doing things with different people and getting interviews and talking about the paranormal and some things that you have actually had some experiences with. And also all these findings that you bring to the table now from the shows and your hard work that you've done, because you build up quite a significance of information and different types of people that you bring into your platform. So, when we talk about this whole paranormal scenario of cryptozoology and Bigfoot and dogmen, are you a believer 100%, unequivocally 100%?
Yes, I guess I would have to say that. Yeah, definitely, because of the paranormal, because of my experiences for many, many years. And definitely now with cryptids, with Bigfoot, or I call them Sasquatch, because they're living around me now, which is just incredible in itself. But but the evidence became too strong in 2022. Yeah, 2022.
Yeah. Hi, Jolene.
Hi, Jolene. Thank you for
I'm
watching.
sure we'll have some Chatterbox people coming in. Jack
Jack.
Warner.
Hi, Jack.
There's Jack. The great good morning. Happy Jack.
Ernie. Hey, Ernie.
There you go. Ernie. Wow, there's a man with a story of his own.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I did.
He's taught us so much about his encounter. This is exactly why I wanted to just hang out with you and have a discussion. This isn't about how old are you, where were you born, why do you, is your hair its natural? No, I'm joking. But I'm going with this. This is about us getting together as a couple of people. And I thought, Barb seems to me more like that down to earth type of person. All right. So me too. And I want to say that for reasons. I don't actually always share everything I know, because there's a lot of things and behind me. I mean, this is just what I've been working on just recently.
Oh, wow.
These are full completely. And behind me, boxes full. So when I say, well, I've seen this, I experienced that, it's because I don't want to start putting out ideas out there, because people pick up on certain ideas and then they share them as their own or part of an encounter. So I don't want to influence that. And that's why, in a way, I try to run solo and try to stay by myself and try to talk to people that have information. And to me, everybody's information is important if they had an experience. Doesn't matter if it's ghostly, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the hairy man, but however people want to, tread through that, because that's a big treading. And maybe that's part of because the cultures gave a different culture of the evolution or the historical information part, and the reasons that they are in some cases having different colors, different traits of colored eyes, different sizes, different lengths in hair. I mean, we get into all these things. So what do you think about how this particular part of the paranormal is working amongst us? Are we getting further in proof of the disclosure of what we're learning? Do you think, in your mind? Because I think we are. What's your theories on that?
I definitely think so. In terms of, all right, let's say in terms of Bigfoot, that's really my, I guess you'd say my, not really obsession, but my focus for the most part now, because of my situation. However, and I feel that field has gotten to a point now where, right, we know that it exists. Now, of course, there's skeptics, and there's people that no matter what we do, what we say, they would have a body, and like here, or I could walk up with holding hands with one. Not that I want to do that. No offense, but but people wouldn't believe it. They're not going to believe it. Certain people just won't. Now, although we have DNA, we have them named now as a species. And so we've gotten far enough that, like I said, that we know that they, most of us know that they exist, especially in this field, right? I shouldn't say not most of us in terms of the general population, but now I'm also working with some researchers that are delving into Dogman with the Dogman Project, the North American Dogman Project, and they're now, I feel like, in the early stages of what the researchers were with Bigfoot back in the 60s and the 70s, all the greats, all the great ones, and it's kind of neat talking to them, and they're struggling with, okay, we think that this is a flesh and blood. A dogman is flesh and blood. Is it something that that is a creature that it was thought to go extinct? Is it that, or is it something that is manufactured in a lab? Is it something alien? And they're really trying to prove that and look at it from a scientific standpoint, because that's really what you do have to do anyway, right? With any of this, I mean, rule it out scientifically, and then if you still are getting evidence, then you have to. And this is what happened with me. I really thought that Bigfoot was just flesh and blood. I thought it was probably just a big ape. It was an undiscovered, remnant of Gigantopithecus potentially. That made the most sense to me. But now, with my experiences the last 2 years, there's no way. There's definitely more to them than that. I don't know what exactly. I don't know what exactly they are, but there's definitely more to them than that. But in terms of all the whole thing, with the paranormal field, I mean, I think it's just fantastic that that's very mainstream now. There's all kinds of shows, and yes, a lot of them, they don't really even portray, in actuality, if you go out on a paranormal investigation, you're not going to get necessarily all of this evidence like they do in certain shows, right? But it's still people don't think it's as weird to talk about. They don't, a lot of people are interested in it. I've just always kind of been, I don't know what it is. I was just always drawn to it. I remember watching, now this is going to age me. I remember watching Dark Shadows as a little girl. I mean, I was little, and I'm like, why would my mother allow me to watch Dark Shadows every day? But I thought it was so great. I mean, and I was probably, it was 3 years old, 4 years old, and I can remember it. And so anyway, that's my... Did I answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, if we were writing a dictionary, you did very well.
Sorry about that. He's like,
but you did. Okay. So, in ways, I know it's a little bit difficult to understand flesh and blood, quantum, and things like that. But I think we are also dealing with different entities that are capable of allowing us to see what we want to see, and doppelganging. And a lot of people don't bring that up. And some of the oldest scenarios of wise tales from the indigenous also said playing the flute and some of these musical instruments influenced them to come closer to them and to have contact with them, whether they were of a quantum physical standpoint or of a flesh and blood. And I think we are working amongst that in different ways with them. So that blows my mind, but it's also a good point that I think we should look at it in fact, because there's too many people that just can't be wrong. Not to say that we are not led astray at times by, you know, there's certain individuals that are doing this for all the wrong reasons. People like you, I, and many, many, many other good others out there are doing it for all the other good reasons. So we have to fight that, and we have to kind of like narrate ourselves through. That's why when people share stories, I have to take them as factual until we can look at it different. Like as an example, when someone tells you a story and they were with 5, 6 people and you can't find the 5 or 6 people they were with, that is a big red flag for me. And there's many stories out there where people were like, oh, I was with 4 or 5 people. Well, you know what? I'd like to talk to them too. Where are they? How do we get into, oh, well, they're all dead. I mean, all of them are in your 40s. What, you know, what's going on? So I look at for certain things, and I find a lot of that, and I try to stray away from it. But we do have good, reputable people out there. Their stories never change. They're like Bob Lazar. From day one to the end of times, nothing has changed about it. Of course, a little bit of wording and structure, you know, why they answer stuff, but the ideas of the facts are always there in that place. So, you know, what are these things when they may have called them in history? Or, you know, were they aware of what quantum was? And we might want to consider the fact that they were taught something different that we don't acknowledge or know about here in the North Americas. Because when we look at everything, it seems like something has always been taught, no matter how you go across the world, whether it's through books. There's a narrating story of something of commonality that is always there, may have use a different name. You know, you can look in religious books, and there could be different names for the same person all the way through history, through different cultures. The same thing kind of works with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the hairy man, Yeti, etc. But I do think that there was more knowledge being shared, and we have to go back to that to kind of reflect into it. Also, one other thing I wanted to say to you, were you speaking about Nick Valente a little earlier?
No, he's not. I know Nick. I mean, I don't know Nick personally. I know of him, but no, that's not who I was talking about. I wasn't. I haven't been working with him like closely.
Okay, but you are going now to a little closer to the dog man.
Yes, just because I've been asked to by it's Kenny Thibodeau. I don't know if you know him. He's Star Fox. He does those that YouTube show, and he's really he's a young guy, but he really is looking at this from a scientific standpoint, that it's just like, you know, talk about a walking encyclopedia of once thought to be extinct species. And so I think that because he has such a mind like that, you know, like it's just such a scientific mind. He has never had a paranormal experience. He's not ever had any sort of a weird experience like that. So he just wants to work with somebody, you know, that can kind of we can bounce ideas off of each other, you know.
Right.
So,
And there's enough information out there too that I talked about several years ago, I think, with the same type of knowledge, fact, and subject matter, where when you go below level 7, there are deep secrets, dark secrets, secrets of DNA, restructuring of DNA. We have successfully did a woolly mammoth. We have done a sheep 35, 40 years ago.
right.
You know, I mean, so we were already dabbling within it, but how far has the government gone, or the private paid for government projects when they hire out? Because it's like, if we're going to create a spaceship, we're not going to do everything under one roof. If we do it everything under one roof, all the information is knowledge there. But if we break it down and we share out technology and componentry systems to 50 outside resources, they don't have any knowledge as to why they're making it. They just know they're making something, they're engineering it, and they're sending it off to Area 51 maybe, or Groom Lake, or one of these other places. And that is exactly when you go deep underground. the stories that came out many years ago are factual to what people were seeing and reporting. Even when you go back to the Phil Schneider story, what he experienced underground, and everybody knows about that. But the fact of what people don't know about is the deep research of it. We can speculate on things, but I did a show. A lot of people did shows with Joe Barger, and what was most mind blowing to me, and his testimonial, was the fact that he was told that he shot one of their adversaries, which means how did they get there so fast? That's the most compelling part. I mean, he just turned around, was still looking in his rearview mirror, saw people turn over, and then when he returned within less than 5 minutes, it was gone. So are they tracking and tracing? Did they have the same thing as part of the technology of when you purchase a dog now, that there is a tracking device in them? Are they doing the same thing and recreations? And I do think when we look at everything and why Ancestry just got bought for $4.7 million and trying to find bloodlines. I mean, why does the government need to do that?
Yeah,
I think it's because they are looking to somehow integrate a past into the present. So I don't know. That's a little bit of my, theory on it, but that's part of why I'm doing that. When I do it, and I haven't done a lot, my below level 7 theory, the abduction 911. David does 411, but I've always done the 911 where it was out of the box from what he was delivering, because I thought there was just more to this whole message, the same way you're talking about it. When we look at everything and we have knowledge and we have framework that actually we can present now and say something's alive. Yes. Something is. It's just, are we really dealing with a scenario? I guess I know I'm babbling here, but a scenario of quantum and paranormal and portals versus the fact that there are a blood species of them and others existing with us, amongst us.
I think that they are, there's a flesh and blood aspect to them, certainly, because people have seen them injured. They reproduce. We see babies. People have touched them. I mean, Ernie was, his encounters absolutely fascinating, was right in front of one and was communicating with it. It wasn't anything that looked like a ghost or see-through, or, I mean, it was right there. I've seen one sitting in front of me about 6 feet away. I mean, that it didn't disappear when I saw it. But there's also, I think that they have, whether it's quantum physics, they have an ability to either camouflage or, people say cloak, disappear, whatever. They have that ability. I don't know. Are they going into a different dimension? Are they going into a portal? I don't know. I don't know really. I don't know. I've never seen that. I've seen orbs when in an area that I think that they're active at night. A lot of what I do is because they're living around me, is I've been successful in getting a lot of footage just through my home security cameras, which are IR. And I wonder if that's why, if it's the IR night vision, is that why? Because I don't know. I don't know. I know that they know that I'm watching them because they'll literally like throw something at the camera, not like, nothing to like damage it, but whether it's a pine cone or it's a little gravel or something, it's definitely, I'll hear it, like a pop. And it could be, and a red light will go on and a light that goes on that's not visible to humans, but animals can see it. So, so they know. But it's such the more that you get, the more that we get into this, the more that I get into it, the more questions that I have. And it's just, right. It's just overwhelming at times.
I know, it's like all of that special design. It doesn't matter what we talk about, but that always added identification of always more, always more questions than answers.
Yes.
But you know what you're seeing, you know what you observe. I mean, you have some people that go out, and I'm not saying this to be negative, and all
Mhm.
they have is sticks and stone possibilities of
Mhm.
what we know um, should have been made by even a human, but
Mhm.
for what reason? Why was it done here? Why was it done in that place? So there's
Mhm.
always that happy medium, but there's never a good balance. It's a balance of theory that could either teeter tot either way to take us
Yes.
to either side. It seems in life, no matter what happens, there's an opposition for an
Yes.
answer.
That's right.
And
That's right.
that, how do we, how do we break away from something like that that is so horrifically tearing the structure of the work apart?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and it's really frustrating because when I have friends on both sides of the fence or whatever, and they're so like adamant that no, this is not, this is not what they are. This is not what they are. Some people are so adamant that they're aggressive and you cannot trust them and blah blah blah. But then there's other people that, oh yeah, they would never hurt you, and I'm like I've never been I've been grunted at and I've been hit with what I believe is infrasound twice. But I've not ever been um felt like they were aggressive toward me. But that's not to say I'm not going to do anything that's going to cause them to be aggressive. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
just try to come at them as with respect and gratitude. But if you come between a mother and her babies, forget it. I mean, I know I'm the same way, don't mess with mama bear. So I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm successful. I don't know if you'd even say it's successful is because it's like, I didn't go seeking them. They came to me. They came here, whether they probably lived here for
Yeah.
hundreds of years. I don't know. And when I moved into the home where they're living around, and I was just, very blessed to have that. And so I, and I try to now talk to them, and just be a good neighbor to them.
Well,
And so
that's positive, sweetheart. I mean, it really is because I mean, if you think about it, we talk to dead people every day.
yeah,
We think of our parents. Something
yeah,
might happen in front of us. Okay, Dad, I know that was you. I mean, so
mhm,
we are talking to the
yes,
element of the
mhm,
supernatural in many ways.
mhm,
But I don't
mhm,
always think that in life, death is not life. I
yeah,
just think it very well could be a new beginning, a different
yes,
structure of the
mhm,
experience, but we fear going into it. I mean, I'll be the first one to say I'm not ready for it yet.
mhm,
But hey, you can't control the inevitable. However your story's written, it's written. And
mhm.
that's the way I think about Bigfoot too, Sasquatch, the hairy one. I'm just going to refer to it as Sasquatch
Yeah,
because you do.
yeah.
But I do think that they have a very unique talent also. And
Mhm.
they're very deceptive. They know how to utilize where the landscapes of their life and where they
Yeah.
lived for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of
Mhm,
thousands of years, whatever it is. And I
mhm,
think it goes back to the earliest points of time, just like we do. Unless
mhm.
you want to believe the theory that the Anunnaki really put us all together, which that's being blown out of the water by other theories of things like the Donan people that were found in the cave that had human traits. So, but
Yes.
an unknown species parent, one unknown. So here you have that same type of scenario that comes into the up the bat. But it's
Mhm,
just, we talk about the follicles of the hair and lights hitting them. Maybe they just understand a technique of something we don't. I have watched some shows. I thought they were quite interesting when they were using the specialized cameras, all different types, and they were
mhm.
picking up things. And the funny things about it were they were humanoid looking, but not
Mhm.
human feature looking, but
Right.
as a
Yeah,
man or the
mhm.
features of a woman. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's like now you see me, now you don't. Poof,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
then we hear about the orbs, and part of that is the magic. I think we have a magic syndrome going on within it that we are looking at a couple different things.
Mhm.
Um, Again, are they just trying is something trying to just tell us there's your answer They're out there. We can present ourselves the way you want to see us. Now it's up to you to believe or not believe. And I think in ways when we look at things like that and break it down and really think about it, you know, that's some of the biggest conclusions of fact. Again, other people may not look the way I do at things because I try to break them down. You know, say I've been told by several people, including one that I'm going to mention, I'm somewhere between David and Alex, and that's Ike and Jones. And one of them had actually said that to me. And it's funny, but when you know the information, you have to utilize the information. When people deny the information because they fear the information, it destroys the information. Yes. You know, and again, I think that there are just some things out there working amongst us. I don't think that's Sasquatch is alone in the woods. I think that there are other things of nature, and some people call them skinwalkers and dogmen and the rake men and, you know, pighead. And I mean, is it possible? I mean, are people really seeing all these things? I know I haven't, but I have, like you, learned to just theorize and analyze a system of love. Like, I see, you know how your peripheral vision, you see something, in a moment it's there and in a moment it's not.
Yes.
And I just say to myself in my mind, because Scott Pace told me, just think it, because he always did, and he was able to communicate. And how he knew he could communicate, they would even come into his house and move stuff around on him.
Oh, gosh.
Now, when we're into the theory of that part of the paranormal, it's telling me that there is a quantum type of life, physical life out there.
Yes.
That is participating with this. Is this part of the information of our learning, though? And that's, so do you see where I'm coming from on how I'm considering things? What do you think about that?
Oh, I don't even know where to start. You're right, there, Michael. It's just, no, it's, I don't know. And I want to remain open because if you well, first of all, like you said, if you shut down certain information, then that's it. And you're not going to consider anything else. I mean, first of all, you're doing yourself a disservice, but if as a field, we shut down certain information, I feel then again, we're doing a disservice to the entire field. If I refuse to listen to somebody that is telling me something that I think is, wow, I can't believe that. Like, I cannot believe they come in people's houses. Well, I'm doing myself a disservice, because what if one shows up? I hope not, but in my house some night, you know, because it's like when you have encounters, you continually not maybe continually, but you will be faced with things that you just didn't think that could ever happen. Right. You may be, you may not be. And so I don't know. Does that make sense? You know, I just try to keep an open mind, and
it's a lot to take in. You know, I hear where you're at. You're trying to stay focused on who you are and how your mind works for you. And that's what everyone needs to do. Well, I like to go out of the box in different ways, because I've been, you know, privileged to talk to so many fantastic human beings. I've met so many really good friends. I know I don't keep enough in touch with all of them, but as you grow and take steps into the future of like things that we do, and I'm all over the place. I'm all over the damn place. You know, I talk about anything. You want to talk about
I love
things, let's talk about it. You want to talk about underground cities? Let's talk about it. You want to talk about what does the eagle really mean in the United States? Let's talk about it. What's, you know, the list could go on. And speaking of not the devil, but the guy that can speak to the Scott Pace is it. Scott, hello, how are you? I want to say hi to Susan Haddix. Ernie's still creating a great vibe out there. Randy Rhodes is in from Pennsylvania. Hello, Randy. How are you, brother?
I'm a Pennsylvania girl. I don't live there now. I live in Washington State, but I was born and raised. I was born in Philly, but raised in northeastern Pennsylvania. So, which you know, Michael, you know, I think we have like a similar accent, even though I was on the northeastern part. But
People do talk about it, the accent, and
yeah.
when you have it, you don't hear it.
I didn't hear it until then. I hate listening to myself, like listening shows back. I hate listening because it's like, oh my gosh, do I sound like that? And my family's like, yeah, you do. But I was raised like, they call it the coal cracker accent. My family was from the coal regions of Pennsylvania. So, so anyway, whatever. But yeah, it's a beautiful state. And yeah, we don't get back as much as we would like to. Our oldest daughter and her husband and our granddaughter, their baby girl live there. So anyway, it's a lot of good people come out of Pennsylvania.
It's true. It's true. And I don't want to say anything that creates influence on some of the people that I've been able to actually touch base with from an early part of age and to now my latter years of life, of where I am, because I'm not a young man no more. But I mean, my fascination for me started because of a guy getting gasoline in a TV show. And that's the truth, Yeah, I had the privilege of pumping gas into Stanton Friedman's car. And he somehow knew my grandfather. He really did. My grandfather was big in politics. He was a Republican vice president. So yeah, he knew a lot of things. He knew the Nixon. He knew things. And some people would come in. His name was Babe. He boxed with Art Rooney, the owner of the Steelers. They were really good friends. And so I was surrounded by people of a different nature. My brother was named after Governor Lawrence of Pennsylvania. His name is David Lawrence. I kid you not.
Yeah.
He has a third name, but I never utilize my third name. That's just like opening up your whole can of worms to your family with some of the subject matter that I discussed. And if you want to hear some real weirdness, you're going to want to check out what I do Tuesday. Please don't judge me. Please don't shoot the messenger. It's all about presentation and investigative research, the same as we do here, except I do different platforms of it. But this has been fun so far. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of interest into what we're talking about. And I think we've already covered a numerous amount. But with you doing shows with many, many people, is there any one particular, not saying you don't believe them all, but was there any like favorite that you could go into that magic hat and pull out that kind of like just blew you back saying, holy, I never really you hear something that's so incredible that never has been described a certain way. Can you share anything like that?
There's been so many. And let me just say, I mean, I don't know if it's a career, it's not a well-paying one, right? Because I'm not making any money doing
I have
business.
never made a dime.
Yeah.
I've never made a dime.
And all my, and this all started because I started having experiences, like I said, and evidence at our home that I could no longer deny. And there was a Facebook page that I was associated with, and I was putting some of my stuff on. And I'd been an admin of this page for like 9 years, was building up the page, and I started putting stuff on, and they're like, no, we don't want this. This isn't clear enough. This isn't, we just want crystal clear. Da, da, da. And I'm like, well, you're not really going to get that usually in this field anyway. So good luck with that. And then, and then they went behind my and got rid of me. And I think that's how I may have messaged you, because I didn't know. I was like, oh my gosh, like, here's my almost like lifeline to people in the Bigfoot community. But then with you and other people, you kind of introduced me to people. And then I started to listen, to watch podcasts and listen to experiencers, because there's one thing with watching a documentary and watching television shows. And also it's completely different though, listening to experiencers, and the like nitty gritty of what people have seen and what they've heard. So then when I think that I was on Michael Scott's show, Understanding Bigfoot, and then Grizzly Chris, I think he saw me on there and then asked me to, be a co-host with him. And so that's how that started. And so it's only been a little bit over a year, but I've been so blessed because I absolutely love to talk to people. I love to talk to people about their their encounters. You know, and our shows usually like between like an hour and a half, and it always goes by so fast. It's so fascinating. Oh gosh, like Ernie's, that was just such an incredible encounter. Lynn Gaspar, I don't know if you ever talked to him. He was, as a young boy, was picking raspberries. I want to say I believe he was like 6 years old. And he was on a family vacation in Ocean Shores, Washington State with his family. And there's wild blackberries everywhere in Washington State. Like, and it's like, oh, that sounds great, but it, you know, it kind of gets annoying, but you know, hey, utilize what you have. So he goes out and takes a bucket and is picking blackberries. And what he thought was just a little bit older boy that was just hairy kind of starts picking blackberries along with him. And then they like almost like they're like hands touch, not holding hands, but like their hands touch. And I mean, my gosh, you know, that I was like, this is so fascinating.
Was it Jane Goodall that used to talk about living in nature amongst the animals, that she would actually crawl into the jungles and participate with them?
Yeah, and then Diane Fossey was another one.
Yeah, they would participate. Yeah. They would mimic the actions the best they could. Yeah. So that makes an awful lot of sense for somebody to just, you know, if monkey see, monkey do. Yeah. And well, maybe that's a connection we need to do more of or try more.
Yeah, true. I just interviewed Arla Williams. I don't know if she has a fascinating story. When she was 4 years old, or I believe it was when she was 4 years old. She was sitting kind of she said she liked to just play in the dirt and in like, you know, grass and on her grandparents' farm. And a juvenile walked up to her and just stood there, and they just looked at each other for a few minutes. And she thought it was just a naked, hairy boy. And so she went in and said to her grandma, and she said it really didn't scare her because he didn't look scary. And that was, so again, you know, how fascinating. I don't know. There's been so many. I just love talking to people. And, you know, one of the things that you had said early on, you talked about the flute, and that's interesting because I got some audio, and that was one of the things that I was getting, this flute noise. And I had asked well, he's a neighbor of mine, but like within 5 miles. But in terms of, you know, in Bigfoot territory, that's not really, they can definitely travel 5 miles. So I feel like we have some of the same clan members that are living in his area and in mine. But I asked him, I said, have you ever heard any noise like that sound they're making like a flute? And he said no. But then I talked to other people that they feel that, you know, that they can make this noise as a flute. So just interesting. So interesting.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. We're learning a little bit more about some of that. And there could be a connection between it. I'm not saying there is. I can't prove it.
Right.
But it seems that there's a system of something that works there. And the Indians do talk about it. Many different tribes that learned from their indigenous ancestry all the way through till now the present. They practice certain power prayers, certain things, rituals, leaving tobacco, asking for favors, giving favors back is a form of gifting, but different in gifting. But I think what they're in some cases reflecting to in that ancestry is part of a deeper side of that paranormal, unforeseen, unknown. Again, it's hard for me. And look, I would be lying if I didn't represent myself to be true. If I didn't say to you, I think we're working with a couple different sources here. I don't know how it all fits together, but I believe that because when you look into the paranormal, and this is why I bring it up, seeing factual black shadow type huge creatures Some representing by looks and features to be a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot. But when you go back to the area to trace where it was done, there's never any signs of anything ever being there. On the other hand, we could be walking through the forest like Jason was. I don't know if you saw that picture. Jason was holding up the Bigfoot print that he got and cast it.
Yeah.
You're finding a physical imprint left. So that's why, I don't think I'm wrong for thinking out of the box that way, that we're looking into a couple scenarios of spirituality, faith, and belief.
Well, and I'll tell you, like, for instance, they sit in areas of my yard. They'll sit there overnight. And I think that they have their spots that they sit, to the point where I can literally have, like, you'll see a butt print, and I don't know what else it could be, and it's kind of like, what else can it be? But I know that I can see them on the cameras, but it's rarely this clear picture. It's more like you'll see, if I zoom into them, it'll kind of like it'll go from, like, everything's crystal clear around where they're sitting, but you zoom into that area and it all, like, pixelates. So I know that they can, that they can manipulate.
Well, I don't know if it's all manipulation. It could be ley line areas of energies, not where portals exist, but where energies exist. And we look at them through their fiber of their being, of their hair and follicle of their hair, and it gives us that misperception of a factual, or like digital photo. And I don't know if they realize it, but I think they might utilize it. And it kind of blends with what they do. I mean, if you look at David Hollis, one of the biggest shows I ever did on Facebook, I think it was like 6,000 hits on my Facebook page. Come on, I only have it does get shared out, but for the feedback, that's like going to YouTube to find numbers, because people want to go into that enormity of, hey, I want, so that there, when you look at the pictures he has, I mean, I take those as factual pictures in many, many ways, because I'm looking at all the fabrics of all the information that I don't even understand. And that if science knows it, it's so full with grants, they're never going to share the information, because wherever grants exist, they suppress information. You either go with the highway or get off the highway. And that's why there are people fighting over climate. It doesn't exist. It exists. It doesn't exist. It's happening. Well, so does science. And if science can influence something, it's going to influence it their way. So we get caught between that narrative. But I think David has taken some of the most fascinating pictures. And I mean, I really have studied them up close on this huge TV screen. I mean,
but that's a good tactic, though. Definitely.
And that's all I have. And when you go through it frame by frame, the best that you can, trying to understand, that's rather impressive. And I wouldn't say that they're nocturnal, that they only come out at night. Because he, in fact, is getting many daylight pictures.
I have many daylight pictures also of them. Definitely. Many. Yeah, they're definitely not. I think that they have watchers, that sit and kind of, that are always awake during the day. I think that they do take a period of time. I'm gonna think, I believe it's about maybe like 10. This is depending on the time of year also, right? Let's say during the summertime, because it stays light, so late. I think maybe 10:30, they all kind of lay down and take naps, but then they have watchers, and then maybe they all start to wake up, I don't know, 5, 6, 7. I'm not sure. I guess, I don't know. But I know that I see them, that they're active like at dusk. And, but I have seen them in the afternoon and, in the broad daylight, and I can look into an area where I know that they all kind of like to hang out, and I can, and I can see them, and I've gotten pictures of them. And then I think that during the night, I've heard that and this is kind of what I believe to be true also, because of what I can see on my cameras. I think that they'll put the the babies and the little ones in charge of the older juveniles, you know, the young teenagers, and they'll be their babysitters, and they'll come and they'll just sit them. Here's a place that you sit, and that's maybe the butt prints that I'm seeing, you know.
Well, that could be family structure. And
yes, I definitely think they have that. Yeah,
they operate like a military. They understand that they're working with other presences, whether it be mountain lions, bears, whatever the scenario is. And, you know, who am I to say that they don't have enemies in the wild just as we do? I mean, if you go into the wild and you cross a mama bear with her cubs, there could be a very serious, even if your intentions were nothing but good and love, because you were just impressed with the fact, wow, I got to see this. I got to actually, you know, experience it. That they have almost like a military style of who they are, of structure. And I believe that you're absolutely right there, that it's utilized amongst it in many, many ways. One of the other things I wanted to bring up, I did a story with Jason Miller, and, you know, we could go on with thousands of people's testimonials, where he was hiking with his family too, and it came across a patch of berries. And when he saw and had his sighting, which I believe there's a documentary coming out on this, that Doug Hijack, I think is how he pronounces his name, had something to do with a regression of the incident. He said it had facial features, human-like, that were pleasant, features of hair and grooming that were every bit of us, as if you were prepping to go out, getting ready to go to a wedding.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, we hear different varieties of stories, and it makes me wonder that the factual proofs behind these different entities of who they are, that there are different ones. Without a doubt, there are definitely different ones.
I see that Frank has a question. Do you think that ghosts and aliens are connected to each other? I don't have any idea, honestly. I think with ghosts and aliens, I'm going to say no, but I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe they are. What do you think, Michael?
Ghosts and aliens are connected. Well, I do think that we are working with a couple different elements of beings. Of course, that's been a lot of the whole topic of what we're having an open discussion on. But good question there. How to answer it the best way for you is, I think they're not all doing the same things. I think the structures of what it is, of this whole bigger, beautiful picture of what Mother Earth provides here through everything that we've been gifted, it has a purpose. And maybe the purposes are all connected in commonalities, but don't mean that they all work as one together. So, you know, are aliens ghosts? It could be, in a way, our own souls going to another side, if we look at it that way. I mean, you could look at it that way. Theoretically, doesn't mean that I'm right, and I don't think that there's any proof to believe it. But I do believe we have enough proof of evidence that we are experiencing things that the naked eye, and sometimes the naked eye, will allow you to see, depending upon the scenario of the energies of Earth's natural bounties that it gives us. So that's why I think in some brief moments, you see a creature take 3 steps to go across a 25-foot roadway, and how big can that thing be? We know that there are footprints. I think Ron Moorhead even measured at one point. I know one of the biggest ones was just over 26 inches. Yeah. And I think Ron put on record was 25 and a half. And, you know, I had a fascinating, you know, show that I did with Daryl Denton too.
Daryl's great.
He brought up a lot of good, interesting scenarios, but this is where the quantum kicks us in the face. And I think what we need to do is understand Earth's natural energy zones. Dowsing, which I'm learning more, and I talked privately to Maria Wheatley. Thank you, Maria, if you're listening. because she's such a beautiful person and a rock star, writer of nine or 10 books. Maybe it's 11 now. It's like every day she just finishes something and it's done. But she has a very great dowsing technique. And I think it's not being practiced enough, because they will teach you. And you believe it or not, you can train a dowsing rod.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You can train a mechanism of a metal, and you don't even have to use metal. You can use a wooden stick. And right now I'm working on a set for myself, because I didn't, she brought it up in one of her, I don't want to say it wrong, because she corrected me just in a comment that we had in emails together within the last 24 hours, in her level 1 discussion.
Okay.
I thought to myself, energies and levels working through magnetic energies and fields and so forth, seems metal would be the most prevalent way to do it. But the truth is, when I went out and tested the wood, it worked every bit as well. So it's really weird, and I don't know why. And I'm waiting to learn more from her, because I think once I understand that, it's going to put me in a whole different scenario of what I'm dealing with. Because my property that I have doesn't only have what's in the sky issues going on, it has many other things. Now, the past couple nights that I was up there, I was experiencing light rods. Now, a lot of people don't know what rods are, and I was talking about these several years ago with James Wigington on a couple shows, because me and James used to get into some deep dive conspiracy, hypothetical theories of analogies of many different subject matters. I know that kind of sounded cool, like that guy knows what he's talking about, but it's true. That's great. But the truth is, I mean, when you think of it, and the powers, sources, energies, stones, crystals, things like this do make sense. And that's the teachings that they took off the table from all of us in our educational system. So we rely on people who are the best experts in the fields. Is everybody an expert? No, but there are some that are way beyond. When somebody teaches you that you can use wood, I mean, look, I thought I knew a lot. I didn't know nothing. So I went out and I tested it right after where these rods were. And one of the more fascinating things was, one came across me. It was about this long, and it was like a strobe light. I mean, it was amazing.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
And then it stayed like on. It's energy of whatever this thing is, because it's coming so fast, you can't it's not a lightning bug.
Are you seeing it with your naked eye too?
I've seen it with my naked eye. Not only did I see it with my naked eye, I heard it enter into the trees and make noises as it entered into them.
Wow.
That just happened. But you know what? It happened so fast. You connected the cameras in position. You'd have to have 50 cameras set up going every direction in order to factualize it. But we do know that we have really good film footage coming in a cave, coming out of a cave, where they were first discovered about 10 years ago, in a documentary that wasn't there to document that. They just happened to come across it. What the hell were they doing in northeastern Pennsylvania? What are they doing 50 miles out of Pittsburgh and on a mountaintop in Carn City, PA? There's a weirdness on my property, is all I'm going to say, because I've seen things there that are quite amazing, and I don't know even. Look, I'm trying to describe a rod to you. I don't even know if what I'm describing to you is what I visually saw, but I 100% saw it happen. And who I was with, as soon as they would hit a light to it, a spotlight to it, it vanished.
Wow. That's cool. Wow.
It vanished. Under light, it vanishes. In darkness, does it come back out? Do you know? Like, is it? Well, it's I'd like to answer that for you the best way I could. And I would just say this: when we're not using them, they do reappear. Is it the same one or same thing? What are they? What is the structure behind them? I don't know.
What do you think they are?
it's a form of life, of some type of life energy. They have intelligence, they have direction.
Yeah.
And when what most impressed me, and I don't know how many people in the world can say this, and I'm being honest as I'm saying this to you, is I heard it enter as a physical component of something, and I heard it hit a branch in the tree as it did, or something. I heard the tree, I saw the direction,
you heard it.
I followed it.
Yeah.
And then it to me, that is saying that there is something of something, and it's no lightning bug. I mean,
no. Yeah.
they're like
tell
thin
the difference.
rods, and they do different things. You want to call them a form of a lightning bug? Maybe they are, because I haven't had it.
But no, I don't. No, they're definitely not lightning bugs.
It's the same. It's the same thing for me to say to somebody, "Oh, I'm seeing all kind of movement in the sky." Yeah, but I'm not up here to identify it.
Right.
I'm seeing it from on the ground, and I'm looking up to what's in the skies, and looking for these things, and I'm looking for the orbs. I do get orbs up there. There was one night I took a picture. It was like they were lighted fairies. They were moving within the foliage at the edge of the trees, and just moving around. And I snapped a couple pictures. I think Odessa was one of the only ones that made a comment to which she theorized around it. And I think I'm kind of on page with Odessa on what she was saying. I don't know that they are. People show us these little things, and then we learn out that people can manipulate a mouse's skeleton and create something out of it by, Ripley's Believe It or Not, kind of like, let's make people believe in more than what the reality is. Or are they just trying to duplicate what they know? And that's why things like this are produced and shown to us. I think in a way that's a big portion of how we have been taught, just to be given enough to understand that there is something bigger involved than what we are actually looking at. And it's up to us to find the facts of the truth, whether it's of alien, of ghostly. But are they two the same? I think in some cases they could be. But I can't analyze it. Scientifically, I can't. Words I can't come up with to actually.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to shut up.
No. I've talked to so many people lately. It's funny. It's several of my last interviews have been about people that have experiences with orbs. Penny Rummel is a local woman from Washington State, and she has written a fascinating book that I just read about orbs. And she even provides a chart, if you will, like with what different sizes and different colors of them mean. And this was based on a study, and I don't remember I apologize, I don't remember the name of the group. A group had done a study on them, but Penny has she has videos where they're making noise. Do you know Barb Shoop? She's another Washington State woman. She just within the last week, I saw a video of hers where an orb whizzed by her, and you can literally hear it. And what is that?
I don't know, but I've experienced what you're describing. And I couldn't. The thing about it was I didn't have a directional microphone to actually prove where it was when it was happening. But it was almost like the frequency of what I was hearing sounded like little tiny creatures with little tiny voices that you would actually hear from a movie that talked oddly weird and funny. Like, I don't know.
Almost like the Chipmunks, but like, kind of like the Chipmunks. Yeah, that's what I think, like robotic.
Yeah, but scrambled and more cutesier. I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, and I thought to myself, what was that? And it's just true. I don't know. So, it's fun. Even if you go out with your phone, your camera, and you're up at Grandpa's farm, whatever, just snap shots. See what comes out. Because technology's catching things that our eyes and won't. And sometimes you might just be in the right place at the right time. And the ley lines and the energy levels are going to allow something to show through. And I think that, look, this is getting off the scope of the page, and I don't want to do that. but we know that we have a kaleidoscope, and we know there's a place in CERN, Switzerland. People think it's called CERN. It's not. It's not CERN. And believe me, many colleges have early prefabrications of this same smaller element. They're working around the world with these things, not just in one place. But they claim that they've opened portals up and allowed things to come through. And some of these things, if factually true from the physicists who are actually leaking some of this information. Sally Field's brother, one. But again, she's on the left, and I'm not. I'm going to shut up.
Yeah.
But are they? And is this part of something that we are experiencing now that we've never seen before? Because I never seen some of these things was I just that still woke asleep, not looking hard enough to understand that life is bigger than the picture we live in.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, so I've seen what I think are orbs, right? Like I said, on my camera, especially in an area where I know that the Sasquatch will sit. But what I saw on the night of the Northern Lights, when so many people could see them, and what was that, May 10th, I believe it was, or the 11th, and we had them. It was just, I don't know. It was so spectacular. It was like, is this real? Like, I really can't look back on that and think that really happened, because it was so bizarre. But during that, I was taking a picture because it was you could definitely see them better with, by using a just an iPhone, in night mode. Yeah. You could definitely see them. But this was like, okay, now we're seeing them with your naked eye, and they're so spectacular. So I'm like, I'm going to take my phone off night setting and just try to take a regular picture. And I got a sky, whatever, right by. And I saw it. I didn't see it with my naked eye, but I saw it fly by I saw it as I'm taking the picture. I can see it. Yeah. And I'm like, what in the world? I never had anything like that. I never got anything like that. And I know it was not a bug. I don't know what it was. I've never seen anything like that. And I thought it was weird that it occurred, during this.
We are seeing a lot of weirdness being applied to life right now.
Yeah.
We're not going to go in any direction on that comment, but a lot of people say the eclipse was an event.
Yes.
And I'm not saying a real event. I'm just saying an event. Yeah. Could also what we think we were seeing with these magnificent sunsets and now these night lights. Why suddenly are they visual everywhere? Why is a rainbow? Does a rainbow always have a rounded arch? It makes you wonder what they can do with what we have up there in holographic form to create maybe other narratives. Because I put on a thing, when the eclipse was happening, days before it was happening, I said, will they even allow us to see it with clarity, or will they smoke the skies with the screen that will protect us all? And the truth is, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, everybody went and got sunglasses, was so disappointed because they flooded this.
Oh, is this the eclipse? The eclipse.
Yeah, the eclipse.
Yes. Ugh.
And it's very questionable because it didn't work in the mannerism that they said it would happen. Now, if science is so perfectly right, that's why, and everything we're talking about is we're kind of going off the page here, but I think people still have an interest in some of that subject matter. What was that? What am I seeing?
Yeah.
A lot of what you see in the skies now, because I study what's in the skies, are the particles of all these different methods that they use in the upper atmosphere that create colors and spectacles that make that look so fabulous. Where if you go back 20, 30, 40 years, you didn't see those things, but they did exist in ways because they do know how to manipulate the atmosphere with what they're doing. Because it's important, I guess, if again, I'm going somewhere that takes us out of that plane of why we were here together. But it's just mind blowing that we're seeing all these different events, that paranormal is becoming more prevalent in many ways. But again, I think when you look at the technology, did they ever think that technology was going to help and assist us in the way that it has? I think they may have made a grave mistake, because we're utilizing it to the best of our abilities to bring forth the truth of disclosure and a different topic. And I think it's working. I think people are making it work.
What's so funny to me, this whole like meta AI thing that's attached to Facebook. It's what is so hilarious now. If you look at a post and Meta will give this little synopsis of what they think is happening. And I love when it's like, oh, Facebook, this is certainly not going your way. A lot of people are, I was reading one this morning, a lot of people are, and I don't want to get you like, the jab from the COVID. Yes. And a lot of, and they're literally, we're talking about, like Meta saying, this is what people are talking about. And I'm like, wow, yeah, talk about it not going Facebook's way. And I wonder how long this Meta is going to last, because that's telling the truth of what people are what everybody's saying in the post. And it's
I think it's a form of transhumanism, and that's why they allow people like me and you take a picture and we're side by side, we have nice smiles on our face, we're showing emotions, and then we put it through their face, and we miraculously look 10 years younger, much brighter and healthier. The wrinkles are gone, the crevices have shrunk. I mean, come on. So it's a fascinating thing. And one of the things here too, Stacy Long says, and I'm not going to be objective to her opinion, because I'm just not. Bigfoot and other creatures are all demonic, straight from the pits of hell. The name of Jesus of Nazareth will stop them in their tracks. That'd be a first. But,
I feel like there are. I think that there. Demons can come in any form, and I have seen a demon. I've seen a demon, Stacy, and I unfortunately had lived in a house that where one was, and I've dealt with that, and it's just horrible, and it's terrible, and it's horrific. But you're right. The name of Jesus who's my savior, that will stop that. And I regularly walk my my property and my house, and just basically say, that Jesus is the master of this domain. Nothing is allowed here, but that has not been with the Bigfoot. That has absolutely not been my, my experience with
mine neither. I mean, I'm more fearful of a gorilla, and we know he has a physical existence. And if you go past him the wrong way, he's going to put you in a place that you don't want to visit. Because your life may end. But we do know something that has been brought to light. Again, this is going away, but still within the focus realm, because people have reported Bigfoots and different type of creatures on alien crafts and said they experienced them. They also said, this is key. When they used the name Jesus, everything came to a stop. Everything came to a stop. So is there something bigger of all this that partakes in a way where you bring up a certain prayer, a certain thought of a person or religion, and everything just vanishes. Everything just vanishes. And that's where spiritual is bigger than humanity. Because if that's the case, spiritual is above humanity, always has been, and is part of the greater plan for all of us somehow, with a battle of everything else that we know that exists. But again, we're going off.
But no, I mean,
we're getting into the Book of Enoch, which I'm so Bigfoot is spiritual. I think in ways spiritual. Gotcha. I think in ways we're seeing sides of spiritual that are helping influence something. The problem is, what are the reasons behind it? We don't know. We can only talk about the spiritual experiences of the physical platform of the subject matter of cryptozoology. And what are these creatures? Where do they come from? Are they part of a bigger scenario? Have they been here? Is it military playing? Is it something below that level 7 that is recreating? I mean, we do see things that mimic ancient times now being more prevalent in the present. It's kind of biblical in a way.
Well, Daryl Denton, you know, we talked about Daryl a little earlier. Daryl Denton had a situation with them that he called upon the name of Jesus Christ, compelled them, and they vanished. But I feel that was a demonic representation, you know, because again, demons can mimic anything. They can come in whatever form. And so you certainly have to be careful with in all of our lives, right? You know, in my opinion, Randy Rhodes had a question. Is there a reason why more and more people are seeing Bigfoot and similar creatures? And are they not afraid to be seen out in the open so frequently? I know you say they have the ability to make themselves invisible, but you would think they would have more concern about being seen, wounded, and captured. You know what? Killed, captured, wounded, and killed. I wonder the same thing myself, because there's so many people that this has started so many people just since like 2017, 2018. Mine started in 2018 was the first evidence, and it just, you know, just got more and more and more activity. There's so many people. Or is it the fact that people just feel more comfortable, you know, now speaking about it? Because I feel like I've always felt that some of the most compelling witnesses are, you know, a guy that's like, I'm a hunter, I'm a fisherman, or I just love camping, I love hiking, and he goes out in the woods and sees something that scares him, that shocks him so much that he does not want to ever see anything like that again. So he'll stay out of the woods. He won't talk to anybody about it.
Yeah, a lot of people turn their back to the woods. They're not walking in as freely either. I agree to that. And you know what? When you come into like, I was asking questions to people I was having on the shows. When up in Canada, in some of these desolate areas, they had 236 major forest event fires. Why it was, you know, who knows? Yeah. And I said to people, I says, well, okay, what was it near? You know, were they near Albuquerque? Where was it? And what was the outcome from it? Were you having more sightings? There was no reports of more sightings with all that acreage being taken. So we can go into that. But at the same time, in Northern California, when they were going through a lot of the fires 15, 20 years ago, they had found injured, burnt creatures that they had to try to give medical treatment to. They were not hostile in the least bit. Mount St. Helen, when that occurred, they were found dead there, and they were being extracted and removed by dark operative. I'm not going to say the last two parts.
I actually talked to. I did interview a guy that he didn't want to. It wasn't on air, you know, but that he was part of a team of people that had done that extraction, and he said it was that this big being, this, you know, I mean, Sasquatch took them to an area and you know, like wanted them to help, because they knew that these teams of military were coming in and picking up victims, and led him to his family. And so and he was very, you know, distraught. And then the guy said it was a female, and then maybe like a younger adult or an older juvenile or whatever. But they were passed away, and they couldn't do anything for them. And, you know, and this Sasquatch was just moaning, and, you know, I mean, he was just showing grief. Yes. Emotion. Yeah. And so there definitely, it happened. I mean, too many people have come out. And that's, you know, that's one thing that it really annoys me, where there are people that'll say, oh no, that never happened. You know, these people are liars and blah, blah, blah. What would motivate somebody with a history, like a great military history that's retired? What would motivate them to come up with something like that if it didn't happen? And I mean, he's not getting any attention because he's completely anonymous. So he's not going to get any attention. So I look at that too, right? You always have to, what's the motivation for somebody that is supposedly like hoaxing or lying? Maybe they're just liars, maybe they just get a rise out of, or it's just, pathological. But I don't think that is the case with most people. And I think that there's I'd say probably 75% of the actual sightings don't get reported.
I believe that. Yeah.
I
believe that. I
Mhm.
mean, some people fear to be ridiculed. I had a guy on. I was to have a guy on, and he was writing a pretty fascinating book, and it was going to be a lot of picture cataloging.
Mhm.
It was ufology, and he was getting so ridiculed. The second show, he just backed out of it. We missed the first one because of he got sick and he was just down. That was okay. But
Yeah.
then that happened. He wrote to me, says, I can't do this. I can't put my family through this.
Yeah.
And I never did the show with him. But the most fascinating pictures. He came from military background as well. He's seen things, he knew things, but he started to fear his own intentions and net worth of, is this worth it to me and my family? And I mean, he was sending me things, and look, I put these pictures through Finder, a Finder view thing. I
Yeah.
couldn't match anything to them. I couldn't match any. He was showing me forms of life, of entities, of
Wow.
things that
Wow.
you could see they were something.
Mhm.
Undoubtedly, they were something. But
Yes.
one of them has a lot of clarity, like as if it stepped into the frame purposely for him to be able to take that picture. And he was always able to communicate as a lifelong abductee, where it happened through his life periodically from the time of being a young man to
Mhm.
where he was now.
Mhm.
So I hate to see people get put in that place, because there's many good people out there. Even River Rose is just in the middle of writing a book. River was in a little while ago. River, I don't remember the name, but if you want to list it and post it on that book coming out that you're doing, please do it. I told her the other day jokingly, I says, I hope I've influenced you. And she goes, yes, you have. So, things may not always work out for Michael Anthony or for you, Barb.
Yeah, sure, right,
But
for
the
sure.
thing
Yeah.
is, what we do is affecting other people. Other people are working harder and more diligently, and I'm trying to give that through my platforms to people where they can have their voice heard,
Mhm.
their
Yes.
stories heard, the truth to come out. It
Yeah.
may not be disclosure, but it's helping disclosure occur. And if we can keep that vibe going, that's
Yes.
my whole objective of where I want to go. Because I am not an expert of anything. I'm the biggest
Mhm.
person of questions more than anything.
Yeah.
I don't want to be ever, looked at, and I'm sure a lot of other people. Why would
Yeah.
these people come up with stories like this,
Right.
unless there wasn't some prudence behind them? And I do believe, undoubtedly, from people talking to people that worked in national forest, and where these certain places of you're just not allowed to go beyond a line, and there's cars and physical things from other countries there,
Mhm.
or a
Mhm.
parking lot full of cars with no structure. I mean, to me, that's like an open gate to the underworld or something. Like, we come,
Mhm.
what are all
Right.
these cars? So,
Yeah.
we need people to come through to open the doors and these floodgates of what they do know. I'm on your team. I'm on Team Barb. Okay. Always have been. When I watch you, because I
Mhm.
know you're coming on, I'm in the background a lot. I watch you. I watch your content. I watch your questions, because you always direct everything in a positive manner to bring the most out of people. And I commend you for your work
Oh,
on
thank
that. I
you.
really
Thank
do.
you.
I
I
really
mean,
do.
it's just I have had no training. I mean, I was an insurance investigator, but that's completely different in my professional career, where but you're trying to get the truth and you're looking for fraud, and so I guess it's a little bit the same, but this is something that I'll tell you that I think that um the response that people have uh in a traumatic event, that in itself, our community does not give enough um credence to that. Like what happens to people when they've had a traumatic experience? You know, how does their story in their mind change? And you can get PTSD, you know, maybe not to the extent, obviously, you know, that somebody that, like, you know, God bless them, you know, members of our armed services and the police force, certainly not that, but you do get a little bit of it, you know, in that you keep going over and over, and then you avoiding thinking about it or whatever. And so it kind of just changes in your changes your, almost like your version of what happened. And I have seen people say, oh, well, you know, look at how they were behaving, you know, or look what they said. And I'm thinking to me, that looks like a trauma response. So I think we need to give people the benefit of the doubt from that standpoint also. I did want to talk about what Randy was saying, is that I wonder why they are making themselves more visible, because I do think that that's happening, but I think that they're doing it to people that they know, that they maybe like trust, right? That have built the trust. I am not going to do anything to I'm not, people are not allowed to come in here to my, you know, I would never allow them to my home to investigate. I'm not going to tell them where exactly I see them, where the active areas are. It's fortunate that where they are, it's a property that's held in a life trust, and the family that owns it they were like an influential family. They have armed guards, and they have cameras, and it's heavily watched. And so, but I also think of, why is that? And is it because they knew that Sasquatch, the Sasquatch people were here and they wanted to protect them? Yeah. That could be it. That possibly could be it. I don't know, but I'm just very glad, because that's the last thing that I would want to see. I also think that, okay, like the day that I said that I was hit by infrasound, if I would have reacted differently that day, I don't think I would be seeing them. I don't think they wanted me out of that area. I think they wanted me out. They, something grunted at me or huffed at me. Some people would say, oh, why didn't you go further and investigate? I think that if I did, then I don't know, maybe hitting me with infrasound that would have hurt me. This was more just to get me out of the area. Because I think that there were maybe, little ones or whatever. But because I had no effects whatsoever from that. But I got to tell you, like that, I think it was probably just maybe like a minute, 2 minutes that I was under the effects of it. I was like, whoa, the dizziest, that I've ever. Oh my gosh. Like I didn't even know if I was going to be able to make it out of the woods. I was really like, whoa. And I just focused on like, I could see a roof line on one of our outbuildings, and I just focused on that. And that's the only way that I was able to just, force myself out. Cause it's
in that moment of time when that happened, were you able to observe anything around you? Were you able to? No. Okay. So,
no.
Here's where it gets weird. And I'm not against you. I'm on your side.
No. Yeah, that's my truth, right? Like I don't even know that,
No,
I mean, I'll tell you. Let me tell you. Like so, like I hear this grunt, and I backed up because I was like, oh my gosh, and I thought, well, what should I? Was that what And then I'm second guessing, but I'm like, no, I think I'm just gonna leave. And I turned to leave, and then that's when it happened. And that's when that feeling came over me. I didn't know that it was infrasound at the time. I thought it was like having a stroke or a heart attack or something. I mean, that's really what I thought. I thought, oh my gosh, is this my body responding? Because I was kind of like, whoa, that scared the crap out of me, but it was like, I was kind of so shocked that, that it happened. But then, that went on for about 30 seconds. And then I realized, Michael, I was so like disoriented. I was going the wrong way. So I feel like it was nice of them to like, wait, she's going the wrong way. That's how I feel. So they like lifted it up, like lifted me out of it or whatever. The feeling was gone. And then I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Why am I walking this way? Because I would have walked continued another way. It's like opposite of where my house is. So it wouldn't have been good, and then as soon as I corrected my course, I was hit with it again. And it was in the time, like that's how disoriented I was. Like I had no idea that I was even, like I said, even going the right way, the wrong way, the complete wrong way. So,
Right. The thing about this is a mystery. That's that magic that
yeah,
we don't understand. I try to put like you said, put some science into what it is of natural energies, natural portals, and you could have been close to a veil of a portal that the energy just somehow could have zapped you, and what you were experiencing of a growl was what was on the other side, even though it was not within a vision of a natural vision of the naked eye. I don't know. It's just
yeah.
not trying to throw this out there in a
No,
negative
no,
way on you in any way,
absolutely.
because I thought a couple times in my life, wow, was my sugar too high? Because there's other things that cause these things too. So you
Yeah.
have to look at everything into the picture, and it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
But you try to. All I could say to anybody is the best way is write down everything you possibly can that
True.
matters about this.
Yes, and
Document
as
it.
close, right? As close after it happened.
Yeah,
And
and go out there with dowsing rods and tell me how wacky they work. I mean,
well,
really.
Here's the thing about dowsing rods is I'm kind of like ambivalent about them. I've never used them. I mean, I know people that have that people use them and they seem to work. But my husband, we were having some issues with our septic field because we have a septic system, right? So we had to have a company come out, and my husband came in, he goes, "You're not going to believe it, this guy's using it looks like coat hangers." And I'm like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, because to try to find the leak." And I'm like, "Those are dowsing rods." And so then I said, "Ask him if that's what they are." And he went out and then he said, "Yeah, that's what they call them." So I mean, this is a business, a professional business. So it's not some
Right.
weirdness that and sure enough,
You do that again?
woo.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, yeah, I totally believe in them. I really do, and I wish more.
Wow.
They're so easy to make, and it doesn't matter what type of metal. But you got to understand the theory of why they move the way they do, and when you do, you'll start to understand the benefit of it. But we had a question some time back from a gentleman who was saying, why do the ancients, record all these depict these things of art and these beings and so forth? And I think it's because it was the ancestries. The answer, my theory would say, and you can answer also, is because they wanted to pass on knowledge. I'll just say it that way. And I think it's like the Adam and Eve story. Some people believe it one way. I actually, from being a pastor for some time and looking at scenarios of different things within that, it was about knowledge. And if you gave too much, humanity, who we were, as we were being studied possibly by others, they feared it. And that's why there was somewhat of rules put in place. Don't do that. Don't eat the apple. Well, if the apple was so bad, they would have removed all the apple trees, but they let them exist. So it didn't really have to do with the apple tree.
Yeah, it was symbolic, I think, too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all a metaphor, and it was about knowledge and creative knowledge to come as we earn it, a trust of it. So anyway, I mean, I hope that
I agree, and I think that's why they took books out of the Bible. The powers that be had decided that they were going to take some of these. Then why would you remove parts of? I think that the Bible is God's word. So why put to humans to transcribe, to put it down. So why would you remove some of that? Except that you don't want us to know what.
Yeah, I'm sure with what we've all learned recently, there's some very nefarious things we are all witnessing. And, I think it has to do with a lot of the things in question also that we want to know more about, and they want to lead us into something that they see as being the future. And that's that part of fragment of the higher consciousness. People are saying we're going to elevate to a different. Well, the different level is we always had love for each other. Everybody has somebody in their family that's different, whatever the subject matter is, but you love them. You show compassion for them. You don't wish them the worst in the world of everything, but yet we are under a dictatorship of how things must be and how things must be pressured across the board every morning when you have your cup of coffee and watch whatever you're going to watch to get the latest in local worst weather forecast in the world that they will, I mean, every day I wake up, it's like no rain, and it rains, and it's going to rain. It didn't rain all day. Another thing that was very odd yesterday, but not odd. I've witnessed this before. They could come out and they could do their spraying everywhere in the sky. You watch it happen. I've watched 40, 50 planes in a day, and when they weren't in this area, they were somewhere else doing their nefarious work, and not a trail left behind. It would dissolve. Okay. Or if you even saw anything, in most cases, 90% of the cases, you never saw anything, but you saw the plane, you heard the plane. In some cases, it doesn't work that way. But yesterday afternoon, I was putting a new garden area in, and I was putting in some metal posts and the fencing to go around it and everything. And I noticed up in the sky that they were, and I'm like, wow.
Yesterday was,
But the truth of the matter is they cleared the sky for about 2 hours, then reactivated it. Because I guess they needed that temperature to rise to a certain point to match what we are being force fed. So it's just bizarre on how things are, but they can make it happen and they can make it go away. So when you see every day you wake up and again, Texas been hit and Wisconsin's been hit and Oklahoma's been hit. And there's every day the new word is tornado, tornado, tornado. And it ain't tomato, it's tornado. It's because they want it. And doom and gloom is only going to kill the productiveness of all the fruit trees, all the gardens. You're going to see them act different. They're going to get overwatered. They don't care as long as there's somewhat of a disruption. And that's just part of the nefarious thing of the same thing as science that we're all trying to eloquently try to expose as truth.
Yes, we had a situation, like the end of summer and into fall is very much wildfire season on the West Coast, and it just blows my mind that they don't manage their forests. That like my husband and I actually own a 114 acre farm in Pennsylvania that was in his family, and then his parents got divorced, so he wanted his father wanted to remain on the farm, so we bought the farm, and his father lived there until he passed away. But we maintain the forest there. And I don't see that practice out here enough anyway. But so I believe it was probably 20, right around the election, there were just wildfire after wildfire after wildfire. And I believe that a lot of it was just eco-terrorism and just political, terrorism. Right. Because there were so many that were starting like just randomly, but also there was just every area was just encased with this smoke, but they weren't really okay. Well, where is the smoke coming from? Because it's not close enough. And we know that with air patterns and stuff that you're going to see. But this was like there was a period of time, a real like 2 weeks that they were saying, oh, we're not really sure where this wildfire smoke is coming at this point. And then people's plants started to die. So was this a weather manipulation? I believe that it was something, and make sure that they're killing off the crops because it was a big issue.
Yeah. And I remember when we went through that, because you could wake up and just smell smoke in the air constantly.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think we're second guessing anything here. I believe we're very accurate, because I've been an advocate against this bullshit for 20 years. You know, I mean, I was the idiot on AOL fighting with people
Yeah.
about it. Wait till you see what's going to happen. And I was
Yes.
writing
Yeah.
to people to try to get better
Yeah.
information on it. But if you want the best information in the world, look up Dag Wiggins. That's the best thing I could say to anybody, because he's a good teacher. Me, I jump all over the place. I don't stay focused into one thing,
Yeah.
but I can hold my own going into a conversation that changes at any time. And I'm grateful to myself. I thank my own self for the work and determination that I put into my
Yes.
mind to be able to do that, because it brings I can bring a lot of subject matter to people and hope that they
Yeah. And
get a lot out of it.
it's, yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
So
It
is there
really
anything else posted up on there? Let's see. Scott
is.
Pace says goes to say why so many people are creative and others are not. Yeah, you're right, brother.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. And I
You are
wonder
what
about
you
that.
make yourself.
Yeah, and what do you think about what is so curious to me is that, like, for instance, I took a video I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was just I was taking a video of a doe that was standing alongside of our property, and she was just like, eating the deer ferns, whatever. Then when I go back to look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a Sasquatch standing behind her, and like you could see him come into the frame a little bit, and like his just like this area of his face, just that, because that's what they do. They have the ability to, they'll stand in front of a twig that'll just obscure their face enough that you're not really sure what you're looking at. But this was like so clear. I'm showing it to my husband. He's like, I don't see it. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't see this? He's like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Barb. I don't see this. But a lot of other people did, because I'm
Why
like, wait a
is
minute,
that?
I don't know. And it's
Why
just,
is it that certain people
I don't
can
know.
tell you immediately what you
Yes.
see, and
Yes.
others that's
No.
that divide of whatever the element is? Maybe they're spraying Thorazine up there.
I don't know. Oh
Because a
no.
lot of people are complaining how tired they feel recently.
Well,
They're
yeah.
losing energy levels and
Yes, for sure.
being
Yep.
beat up by everything. It's so dramatic. Life has become very hard as we know it.
Yeah.
I feel so
That's
terrible for the future. I really do.
yeah, it's really it's just alarming. Yeah. I mean, you don't when you have
Yeah.
a political candidate that has been denied due process and jurisprudence, and let's just come up with a sentence that is not even, how is that even constitutional? But the way determining this, I don't know, but I'm preaching to the choir with you. It's just,
No, you're not.
I don't know where
You're
this is going.
protecting your voice. You're protecting your voice, and by doing that, you're protecting your mind's thought. Because
Yeah.
it was never about taking your voice away. It was shutting down your thinking process. They wanted to shut down and it's not working for them, and they don't understand totally why. But we're going to have to just, no matter what it is that we're doing in life, focus what we want to get out of it, because that's the only way to get to the newest level of the future. Because I don't think, no matter what happens, you're going to be responsible for what's going to keep you happy.
That's true.
And I think that's what it's going to come down to. And people are going to finally come to that same type of conclusion. We could go biblical and we could say, you're watching Jesus Christ be persecuted all over again. Everything, all the way things were narrated until they, hung him on a cross. But the truth of the matter is, spectacles like this, and many good presidents and other leaders of other countries of all races have all been persecuted like this. Some with
He's
a
not
bullet,
right.
some with a pen.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, he's certainly not the first world leader that this has happened to. It's alarming. It's alarming in this country. It's alarming that people that were, that were accused of doing something, whether they were innocent or complicit in the January 6th, sat in jail without due process, denied jurisprudence, it's just that's just hey, we're losing our rights left and right, and people are I don't know.
And you know, by them doing that, though, if we can go political here
Yeah, I
gently,
mean,
I'm gonna go gently because I just got back out
yeah,
of
yeah,
jail.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah,
Um,
I've been in jail. I'm an ex-con jail, Facebook ex-con so many times, Michael.
I hear you. I hear you. I mean,
Go ahead.
oh, I don't know how I was gonna go with it. Now I tried to pay attention to you, and my train of
Yeah, no,
thought
it's no, you
my
know,
train
it's
of thought vanished a little bit. But you know, they put him in a position to collect nearly $60 million in a 24-hour period to help his,
yeah,
you know,
true.
his
Yeah,
campaign.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
by doing this to him, there was two oppositions. I theorized around this with people. When Trump said all presidents need their executive protections held in place, I
Oh,
thought, well,
yeah.
that would give them all the other ones a free ride. By him actually having this conviction opens up a floodgate to everything that they can go back on. But then there's going to be due process under what I theorize is how far they can go back
Yeah,
under
yeah,
protections.
yeah.
Well, it didn't seem like Trump there was any terminology of years involved for that because they went after everything,
Mhm.
and there was no due process of time. So when it comes to those two words that they actually put me in jail for was, oh, I don't want to say it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you know, statute of, it's
Mhm,
three words,
mhm. Yeah.
statute of limit.
Limitations.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
limitation.
yeah,
So you know, and what happened to client and attorney privileges? You just go out and you spill your guts. I mean, Gomer Powell was a good matchup to put Cohen's picture next to. But you know,
yeah,
that tells you how close this whole scenario is because they are blood relatives. Imagine that, not by him, but by a different family member.
mhm.
Because Gomer was actually quite the opposite. He liked men more than he liked women, you know. And we have many. So we're fighting a whole scenario of a bunch of just crap. And I think if the world just said, "We knew you were here before," you know, just keep living the way we're living. There were
Mhm.
comments on one of the biggest gay pride parades in this city of Pittsburgh, that just went on. That was provided by the city of Pittsburgh to happen for them. We're going to give this to you. Just show up and do it. Some of the comments that came out of that were just alarming to me. That we have to be here to protect you. You were here before and everything was fine. You know, I mean,
Yes,
you want to,
yes.
if you want to go down the street and um show
Hi, Mary.
keep
Yeah.
keep your clothes on and all that
Well,
kind of stuff.
yeah, yes. That's like I have a lot of I've always been an advocate for gay people. Um I just feel like if you're not affecting me, you know, do
Right.
whatever. Love who you love, whatever. But it's and this is what a lot of my gay friends will say. They've taken it too far.
Yeah.
They don't want to be associated. We're trying to, you know, they just got over the fight of like, you know, that being able to marry each other. They don't want to be associated with like naked bike parades and with drag queens reading to little teeny kids. They don't want to be associated with that.
No, I agree.
Um there's a big movement. I'm oh my gosh, I'm trying to think what it's called. Oh, you know, gays against grooming. And you know, and it's just a big and I applaud them because they have to have that voice, but you know, but that's not the voices that we're going to hear. That's the, you know, we're going to hear the other side, like that's meant to divide us. And that's really what people have to
Well, they
keep in
have
mind.
you just hit the nail on the head. They're creating their own divide in their own community, but I think it's
Mhm.
a positive divide when you have people of a community are saying no, no,
Yeah.
and they could be
Yeah.
saying it no, 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 no. It doesn't matter how they talk. It doesn't matter how they let their verbiage slang out. The point is, no, you don't go that. You don't do it this way. You don't go
Mhm.
that far
Yeah.
because there has to be an order of discipline somehow, some way. It doesn't mean we can't all somehow get along because we did before. As you
Mhm.
said, I had them too. I mean, for the entirety of my life, I would say from the age of like 13, I think I was introduced to the fact that there was this enormous, I don't want to use the wrong word to but I mean, I'd learned about this. And then I started experiencing the fact that it was happening. And in my mind somewhere, I just went along with it like, oh, well, whatever, I'm still attracted to beautiful women. They could be a blonde, it could be a girl with black hair, it could be a brunette, it could be a redhead. If I found somebody that was attracted, that I was attracted to, I knew what I was.
I
knew what I was. You know what I mean? And I think people know what that is. You can only hope that discipline creates good character through people on all walks of life to keep peace amongst everybody. And that's going to be the hardest part. But I think that's what this whole level of consciousness is, us being put into a placement of like this acceptance. And we already have accepted it by what you and I are talking about right now, whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's politics. I mean, we've narrated and hit it on a little bit of everything. And it was all good because why? We're two people that can see it. We understand it, but we also know that there's a mechanism of how we can get through it, the same as there's one for them. And the truth is, nobody should be judged upon anything because the Constitution protects people. It doesn't limitate to anything saying if you're gay, you lose your constitutional right. So why are you putting this down our throat? If you in Washington believe that you want this, make sure you enforce laws that protect them to have it, and everybody's going to get used to it, and we're all going to get along. But no, they, we got to. It's all a bunch of. It's a shit show. It really is. Anyway, we're getting up on that 2-hour thing.
I want to talk about, I do want to talk about because this is something that I saw. I was, my daughter and I are watching this funny show on Netflix. And okay, now, Margaret Sanger, right? From Planned Parenthood. And really what she wanted to do was wipe out the Black population. That was really what she wanted to do, So with that being said, this show, and it's a Black comedy, African-American women, and it's hilarious. But a lot of what the theme was is that they were like one of the young boys that was 22 years old had a vasectomy. And then, and a couple of young girls were saying they were never going to have children. And I'm like, where are you going with this message? Like, is this Margaret Sanger's dream? Like what?
I think certain people have certain ideologies of different things and those dreams, but they have always attacked some type of culture. Coming to America, some would say they took the land from the indigenous, the Indian people. So, I mean, so they had to be wiped out. The Black people stood up with Martin Luther King and other constituents in the Black Party. And of course, they had to be, and presidents wanted to give disclosure and they had to be. So the scenario of control has always been under a method of control. And it's just not what we've seen in the past.
Right.
Yeah, not this past 100 years. It's thousands of years of thousands of different leaders, of thousands of different reasons why wars occurred and people died. And it's always the old men who come up with the ideas of how to get rich, create war, while the young people are dissolved from it and die because they protect it. Because they can create patriotism or some type of fascism that sends them into an area of that scenario. I don't agree with it all. I never did, because I believe that so many good patriots that thought they were fighting for something were not.
Yeah.
And that's the saddest part of why we look at these white monuments and these preciously well-maintained graveyards across America. And it saddens me when you look at the enormity of what we have lost.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yes. It's awful.
Yeah. Do you think we got under some people's skin for talking about this at the end of a Bigfoot show?
I don't know. And I'm wondering, what's What are you gonna what's gonna be the repercussions? So let's go back
Well,
to big.
you know what? If anybody knows Michael Anthony, I know he goes off and on, but I think you
Well,
influenced me tonight.
me too.
You highly influenced
I've
me.
been I've made and lost so many friends because of my outspokenness.
That's sad
But
because we used to live in a time of like, okay, you're at the bar, everybody's talking about different things, but you still had a drink, bought the guy another one, or he bought you
yeah,
one. Life went on. We're losing that
yeah, yeah,
continuity of connection, even though it's there. I mean, the
yeah.
principle of attraction and goodness comes in all ways for many people. It's like the first time you get a kiss. It's the most heartfelt, emotional time, I think, in one's life.
Mhm,
It's
yeah.
something you want to learn about and something you want to be able to feel. And that magic is just phenomenal, when you learn it and what it is. You can't eat, you can't sleep, you know what I mean? You go through all these physical things. And to me, that's been my whole life on all these projects of processes that I talk about.
Yeah.
It's like my first kiss all over again.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that
Like you
it
live
brings out
outside.
wonderful. It brings back wonderful.
Yeah, live outside the, like you said, the constructs, and probably like way outside the box. I've always been the weird person that thinks just random things, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Mary
but
Fabian, how are
yeah,
you, sweetheart?
I'll circle back, like let's talk about the the what um paranormal, metaphysical, I don't know what they can do, right? So my handheld recorder,
Hmm.
um I normally I'll record audio, and I get pretty good audio, like I said, through my cameras. But I was talking to a researcher, and he said, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't just stick a recorder out there all night long and just let it run. And I'm like, okay. So finally, after a year, I think my family got me this for my birthday last year. Finally, after a year, I stick it out. And now to turn it on, it's like you have to, press it. Okay, and now it's on. So like for 2 seconds, and then same thing to turn it off. Press it. Well, that didn't even work. So I got to hold it down a little further, longer to get it to turn off. Okay. How did this thing just laying up on the top of my deck, on the top ledge,
Hmm.
was turned off after 5 hours? The battery was absolutely fine. But now how did that happen? And this is, we get so many reports of that happening. And
Yeah,
I
and
thought,
that is strange. And sometimes there's automatic shutoffs built into things, and I think they do that just to mess with us. I'm not saying that's the case here, but technology works like that. Just getting on tonight, I had to do the layout twice.
Mhm,
The
mhm,
first time
mhm.
said I had an error with it. Then I went to invite you, and you were no longer my friend,
Yeah.
which I had no clue about. Somehow we
No.
were keeping in touch, but as soon as I went
Mhm.
to invite you, no, no, no.
Uh-huh. You're not friends with her.
No, you're not.
But we've been through that before. So, and I've been through that with other people that have our similar,
Yeah,
ideology.
it's mind blowing, in that way. But Scott Pace, and he's a rock star. He's opened my mind. He doesn't know this, but he opened my mind in a whole different direction of things that he experienced, and he shared so many things, including pictures with me and everything. He's been a teacher in many ways because he comes with a whole different strangeness of goodness of teaching.
Oh,
And he did. He really changed a lot of things around for me.
trying to
But
get
he
to know
wants to know
Scott.
if
Wow,
Bigfoot
yeah.
could come out of portals. I think you already answered that question for me when you were talking to me, and we were, had that closeness bond going on before doing the show. I do believe that somehow, and maybe if it's not Bigfoot, it's something that could be like it. And why do these examples happen? Why are
Mhm.
they similar to the fact where there are all these commonalities that we are being shown something? Maybe it's because we're supposed to know the fact is true, and something else is trying to help us from this other realm that we don't quite understand. We'll probably never understand until we're on the other side. but we'll never remember when we come back.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true. That's
puts us
true.
that
Yeah.
just puts us back in that scenario. Mary says infrasound and EMF can interfere with electronics. Military experiments showed this. Okay, I would go with that and say there's probably a lot of logic and truth behind that. A lot of people don't talk about what she just brought up. But again, you know, some things are by motion. And there's little motion detectors now in these lights, these new lights that they put out, LED lighting. They'll last in your home 80,000 hours or 125 clicks on and off.
Yeah.
Now, if you turn it on to be on constant, it will last a lot longer than how many times you activate it. It's made, the circuit is made to pop.
Yeah. Yep. Right.
So, I mean, who knows? You know, maybe somebody reached up there that understood technology more than you realize they do. And
I think I agree with Mary. I think it's more the infrasound or whatever they can, you know, whatever, however they can manipulate. I don't think it was like a physical, although I did hear them several times very, very close to the camera or the recorder. But there was nothing, you know, right before it got turned off. So I don't know. Who knows? We don't know. But it was odd.
Yeah, well, that's where the mystery becomes the mystery, you know, and then we have the magic becomes the magic. I mean, it's that, and it doesn't matter what it is. It's the questions that always open up the other questions that seem to be endless. But what you can count on is what you do, I think, in life can experience through your own mind's eye and through your own eyes into your mind, where you can acknowledge factual information that you experience. Document it, write it down, remember it, because that is your proof in this existence of this matrix of a world. Because I truly believe that we are in a simulation of sorts, you know, and it's just being opened up to us that science knows that there's much more to the picture. And they are trying to learn out how to control the physical aspect of it. Doesn't matter if it's weather. It doesn't matter if it's through Wi-Fi, 5G systems. They all have something to do with what they want to do. And we can always have more questions into that scenario too, which I'm going to shut up about because I could go so far deep into it. But it's the construct of the deconstruct. You know, if there is a factual story, disinformation has to be created to kill the credibility of it. And I'm so tired of that system of it. So the closer we become together as a unit, as a group of people who support each other and not fight and frown against each other, is how we're going to get to the next step. If we work to get through every scenario, we will get to the top of the chain of the ladder, or the top of, you want to call it the food chain or make up a name for it, make it up. But the point that I'm bringing into the light is when we all are as one, and I'm not talking politically, but I'm talking in this need to understand the mystery of it. I think we're going to find more answers. And if we don't find them all in our lifetime, I'll meet you back here in your next, and we'll start all over.
Yeah.
I got no other way to say it.
Well said. Well said. It's really been an honor, though. I do want to thank you because I'm long time listener, and so it's
no
such
honor.
an honor. It is to me to be on your show, to be asked on your show.
Why?
It is because I just always, but like I said, I've been listening to you for a few years, and I just have always agreed with you, and it's fascinating the things that you are able to dig deep into and find, and I can't wait for your show on Tuesday because that's
wait till Tuesday. Wait till Tuesday. People might not look at me the same way, but don't shoot the messenger.
No, because you're just given information that
a year of investigative research and let people take it from there. It's going to be up to people, really, of what we are. I mean, when you look at people putting on masks, walking around that look so much like I mean, look, the unit of science and technology is bigger than they are probably 75 years ahead of where we are right now in things that we wouldn't want to believe. I mean, it could, if you reflect into what work's going to be like for societies in the future, it's going to have to do with technology being, it's going to be like, go out and build that building and they're going to give the order to robots. And what happens to humanity? Where do we go into the future? That's so everything that we can do now to protect ourselves, I think would be very smart as to what we can do to protect the children and how we elevate into the next chain of the future. Although not everything I'm going to bring forth you will ever agree with, but it's information that you need to deal with, because I'm not the one that can make up anyone's mind, and I don't want to influence it.
Right.
I only want to present what might help you determine what the reality is that we are experiencing all together. Collectively, though, I think there's a lot of good love out there, and paranormal, in some cases politics, and ufology and cryptozoology and all the other scenarios that fall under the platform of that. But we can't argue, we can't fight, we can't dismember the unit of what has been built, because I have never seen so many fascinating people come up. But I don't want them to get too big for their britches, because I'll take them apart on the show, and they know it, and they will never invite me there for it. They will never challenge me on it. Now, I've been challenged in ways, and even a comment once was made to me with you where I said, look, I'm no expert, man. I'm no expert. Well, if we're going to talk expertise, I can't help you. But what I can do is what you do. Bring the best forward.
Yeah.
And let that simmer and rest.
And it's their truth. And that's that's what I say about me too. And you as well. It's our truth, what we see, what we experience, what we feel, and that's all that we can do, and share it. And like you said, kind of try to maintain open minds and
right. And just work. Do your due diligence, because everything will be more satisfying. I made a comment that way tonight on that part, but I do want to thank everybody who came in and stayed through the whole structure, and many came in and out. I think there's been, what I'm seeing right now, this might blow your mind, and this entirety of 1 hour through all the levels of small platforms, 700 people are watching.
Ooh, wow, awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
so if it went to iHeart, it's probably 500,000.
Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you.
I didn't want to tell you that out loud.
Well, we'll just get our big fat paychecks. Well, we'll get our big fat paychecks. No, I'm joking. Like we both said, we haven't made a dime on it, and that's okay.
I never have. I never have. And I criticize some who are in this all about
but like also I feel like I'm fortunate, I'm blessed enough that I don't have to have another job right now, because I'm very blessed that I was able to retire and do this, and my husband's fine, he's fine. I do obviously a lot of other things, but you know what I mean, very blessed, and I always
and he's very supportive of you.
Yes,
I know that by how often you're on and the amount of shows and the enormity of that, because it is tough. And you must admit, and I think you really must admit this. It's trying. It takes much longer than what people will ever realize. If you want to grow in a way to where you can put a message out there of information, it takes a lot of time, and it's painstaking. You get in trouble for doing it. You get yelled at by certain groups, or I can share into a group who loved every content I ever sent. And then you were on tonight with me. And guess what? The show was rejected.
Oh, so, my God.
No, I'm just saying this happens.
Yeah. I mean, Yep.
And that's why we need unity. We need everybody to hang together. And I want to also send a lot of thanks out there for all the work that Ron has been doing out there. You know, I mean, he shows up everywhere. He lectures, he speaks. It's just Ron Moorhead I'm speaking of.
Oh gosh, I
Mr.
just
Sierra.
love Ron. I cannot wait. I get to talk to July 11th. He's going to be on our show, and oh my gosh, I can't wait. He's just incredible.
It's a treat. It's a treat. And you know what? He doesn't turn on anybody. He just has. He's such a good, pleasant soul. I think I've had 3 times where I've been able to, you know, have conversations with him. And, you know, I mean, maybe when I get time to write all these things out and get them in better order, because I was just told I was doing it wrong, and that's okay. Good criticism makes better structure. But I was thrown a hint by somebody with a really strong voice who wrote 29 books, Jim Goodall, and he told me, and even gave me the title for my first one. And I think I'm going to go with that because, you know, even Brad Olson, another guy, you know, publisher, 19 books, speaks around the world on TV and everything else, said to me, da 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 da. And I wasn't looking at that from that side. So I got to remove myself from this element and put myself into the ink, you know, because that will be the difference to where I can walk away from this and say, here, have fun with it, kids. It's all yours. I'm going to sit down now and you can learn about everything I didn't say through this. And then try to find me because you won't.
Yeah.
So we're going to get out of here. It's been a long 2 hours, but a good, fun 2 hours.
Yeah, definitely.
Incredible. I hope
you everybody. Such kind comments in the. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, and yeah, thank you, Mary.
I had a blast with you. I really have.
Oh, I did too. I know. It's been like, okay, it's 2 hours. Wow.
Well, we'll have
I have to have you on my show too. I have to have you on my show. You were on a show, like one of my first shows. You were kind enough to come on, but then it got late and you had to go, and I get it. So
you know, it turned into also. I guess there was a couple of young ladies who were on a show, and their story came back on and was like, well, this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get
it. I'm not lying a little bit. And then Grizz turned into this, I know everything you're talking about. And I was like, oh, wait. Come on, man. I'm like, I got to get out of here.
But it was great,
like, this is not the night or the time. And, you know, I mean, good luck, Grizz. Good luck. But, you know, I separated myself from that little bit of a thing only because it's just, I didn't know how to approach where I was to go with what I was hearing. Did you guys want me to talk to the women, or were you guys waiting for me to just? I didn't know what was really. I'd be happy to. Whether it's solo like this or however you let me know, I'd be more than happy to. And maybe one Sunday evening when we go into fall, we could throw a little panel of discussion together with just some of our friends and just, you know, have a great time of stories and information and something like that, like a voice for everybody who can't travel to go out and understand to hear all the importance of what is being shared to the world with what's going on in this. So something like that would be fascinating too. And I would have you right there by my side because you hold really strong when it comes to information. You have such a brilliant smile. Your husband is wonderful for letting us borrow you this evening. I appreciate it. I really, really do.
Thank you.
Please like and share it wherever you want to. I know I'm going to. And everyone else out there, I appreciate it. You all have a great night. Barb, you take care.
Thank you, Michael. You too. Yeah, it was great talking to you, and I will talk to you again.
Okay. Everyone, you have great nights out there. We're going to call this a night. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.